Okay, now my side chaining is very different. So I like to kind of show this using like visual aids basically. So I'm gonna get a basic sine wave. There we go. I'm gonna find a synthesized kick just so I can control the kick. Nope. I want this to be fast. Let's take those. There we go. So this is our sub. This is our kick. Okay, now, normally, when it comes to side chaining, the standard way to do it, probably should have set this up beforehand. So the standard way, let's take a low. Try to make this as messy as possible. So we don't want to give the program like any kind of time to be like, okay, now I'm used to it, or you know, if your computer is slow or got a supercomputer or whatnot, you know, the same thing will apply. So let's speed this up. And then I'm going to go for an audio channel. No, actually, I'm going to go for a group channel. I'm going to send this sub and kick out to that group channel. Get an audio channel. And call this one sound in. Right? So, yeah, just group channel basically. So now, I'm going to record this sound in. And then you're going to see what is happening between the kick and the sub bass. So if we look here, we can see that this is a complete conflict. You know, it's the kick and then it just looks horrible. If it's a standard sine wave, this is what you should be looking at. If it's a kick, looks a bit like that, right? I mean, that kick looks horrible. It shouldn't end like that, to be honest. But that kind of helps my point, as it shouldn't end that way. So let's try like that instead. Okay, that's a little bit better. Right. Still horrible though. And then we're going to put the sub in it, kick and the sub together. That looks horrible. And you don't want that in the track. This is like a massive volume peak. And it just means that the kick and snare fighting against each other. Normally what you would do is you would add a compressor. So let's get that from the kick. You put that down. You go to sidechain, external, threshold down, attack a little bit up, least down. Then you get it like this. Let's go a bit faster. And there we go. You can see here that it has has eliminated that big peak that you would get when the kick and the snare clash. But still, if you have a listen, still doesn't sound right, does it? It's a bit clicky, a bit loud. I can't really isolate, you know, can't really isolate where the kick is, where the sub is. It looks better. It's not great. Now, that's a compression. That's with a compressor. Now, some people say, okay, instead of using a compressor, use a gate, like a noise gate. So I've got a thing called ducker or duck. And you can do the same thing with this, but it uses volume to do it instead of compression, which compression is the same. But with this, you have more control. So let's make sure it's actually on. It is on. You've also got smoothing. So we can record that out. I think I can actually just press. No, can I press this? Can I bounce that? No. Okay. Or I think I can just do that. It does the same thing. Yep, it keeps it in. There we go. So with this is the bass, and you can see what's happened here. If you have a listen. There we go. Have a listen to the kick. Doesn't sound right, does it? Because it's left that little piece there. Now what you could also do is if you go into your group, Ducker, you've released this. So now this changes. But by doing this, you're creating like a volume issue here. You're creating a volume problem. So you don't really want that. You don't want that at all. So what I tend to do is I take the combination of both. So I have my side chain. Let's see. Okay, hard side chain. It's just a simple sidechain compressor. And I have my ducker doing the same thing. So now when I record in, I zoom in. So much better, isn't it? I think if I see. Also, if I bounce out these two, there we go. Kick, sub. So I use a combination basically of the compressor and the noise. So a standard compressor, you can even do this with the standard Pro C compressor. Just do it like that. So you can even do it with a standard Pro C compressor. So let's this and remove that. And let's do the same thing. Just gonna make sure that we take it over like that. It would be nice if I turn that on. Is it off? Oh, I know why it did that. It's probably a good idea to tell it it's a compressor. Auto is off. There we go. So now it would be good if I had the kick as well. Fun times ahead. Okay, there we go. So now you can see that all those issues, all those problems are gone. There's a tiny bit here that's left in. That shouldn't cause a major problem. So yeah, that's how I do my compression. And if I, that is the kick. And then if you check it as a combination of all the audio, you'll notice that it looks nicer as well. See? Looks so much nicer. There's no problems of volume jumps, and once again, the kick is a bit shit, but if you look at the sub bass, it slowly creeps up, and obviously you want to adjust that so it's nice and level. And that's probably to do with the fact that I just loaded up Pro C without really playing around with the levels. And Ducker, you can move that around. Because the Ducker will kind of do this general ramp up of volume, but then if you have Pro C, you can have that so it's kind of like solid, so you can have it this way as opposed to this way. But experiment with it, and you'll notice that your sidechain is much more better, much more cleaner. You don't have to worry about a lot of phasing issues with the lows or the top end, especially on hats and things like that. It just sounds so much cleaner. Sometimes I find that when you sidechain, you get like a bit of this weird mid build up that sounds a bit muddy, but doing it this way, it's really clean. So yeah, experiment with your own and see what you can come up with.